28 minutes to 8. Welcome back to Sunrise Daily. Well, we start today with, a little bit of where we left off yesterday. We did talk about the pension of ex-governors, the deputies, and all of those documents signed by several state houses of assembly. Well, to do that, we're joined by Mr. George Eke, who is a legal practitioner. Thank you for coming on this morning.
Thank you so much.
Well, it did make rounds and generated a lot of furor, and perhaps it still is. But we did ask the NBA from second national vice president if it was out of place for lawyers who had seen this before a lot of other people to have perhaps maybe in a way of if it means going to court or doing something legally or suggesting that this kind of things be reviewed. But maybe that's out of the way now. But you've read some of this pension act signed by the state houses of assembly. What do you think about them?
Yeah, well, before I get into your question, just permit me half a minute or 1 minute to condole the Akunyele family, the people of Anambra, and the people of Nigeria entirely, about the loss of that Amazon. My personal experience was that I was in a minister's office long before she became NAFDAC DG, and the minister was taking a call from some task force, in Onitsha, that was meant to dismantle, I call them drug barons, those fake medicine dealers, as it were. And in frustration, the director, or at least the head of that task force, said that the kingpins of those fake medicine dealers had rallied around, contributed some money, and given to the authorities of the police in Anambra State or something, and the people had developed, code feet, to fight that anomaly, as it were. And the minister was quite frustrated. 3, 4, 5 years down the line, this woman was appointed DG. And I found out that what overwhelmed that minister was what she donated her life almost, because she came close to being killed and all of that. I thank God for the gift of Dora Akunyele to this country. And may her soul rest in peace, because she is an inspiration to our daughters. Coming back to your question, you talked about the pension funds for ex-governors. I want us to enlarge this discussion to terminal benefits for political office holders, because I will tell you why it is larger than governors. First and foremost, I must commend the governor of Akwa Ibom State. That is actually how this discussion came to the front burner.
Why?
Because he approved, or at least assented to, a bill that allowed an ex-governor to take about 100 million as medical bill. And Nigerians were quite overwhelmed. Everybody, there was a public outcry. 100 million for medical bill alone, and by the time they looked at the details, there was a lot for cooks, stewards, gardeners, all kinds of persons, and all of that. Note that a governor's office, the governor's powers, are so overwhelming, so humongous, that the perks of office of a governor are such that, in short, that is essentially part of why most politicians, when they are campaigning for election, they tell you, I'll donate my 6 months salary. I'll donate my 1 month salary. They don't need that salary. It is essentially what you get in the office that sustains you. It is huge what you get there. So it becomes a kind of anticlimax for the governor while he's about to leave, because the Constitution says he must leave. It's almost like, will I leave all this wealth for these people? Let me take enough to run me all through life. You are taking 100 million. But you see, part of why I'm commending the governor is that he operated this particular pension fund. People thought it was his bill. I'm talking about Governor Akpabio. People thought it was his bill. He operated it and found out that it was open-ended.
How do you mean open-ended?
Open-ended in the sense that no matter what an ex-governor incurs by way of medical bill, the state is bound to pay. So the man now said, no, it cannot continue like that. Let us put a cap on it. Let us now say this is exactly what the governor is entitled to. And of course, Nigerians, there's this Shakespearean Roman mob thing that we do, kill him and all of that. So we don't look at the content of course, the man quickly let it the way it is. I said, let it continue. I mean, limitless, endless, as it were. But let's go to other states. It has opened our eyes. And at a point in time, I started wondering, I said, where were Nigerians while these bills were being passed? Where were the NGOs, the so-called self-styled civil society organizations? The bills have been passed in almost all the states in Nigeria. And let me tell you why I said we should enlarge this discussion so that it goes beyond the governors. I was trying to give a ride to a friend of mine who was a House of Assembly member. And he went for a meeting, and I said, what kind of meeting are you people still having? Ex-House of Assembly members. Meanwhile, you're no longer in office. He said, when they were about to leave, that they impeached their speaker. And the speaker went to court. I think about 2 weeks or so to the end of his tenure. He went to court, praying the court to reverse or declare that impeachment null and void or unconstitutional. And I said, what is his business? I mean, the administration is over, he's no longer speaker and all of that. The man now started reeling to me what the speaker is entitled to for life.
In other words, that there's another pension scheme for speakers.
For speakers and deputy speakers. And I had mentioned here, sometime when we were discussing the budget, I think it was 2001, and there was this topic about, this particular provision for either the vice president's cooking utensils that ran into about 242 million, I still remember. And I said, the caveat to that is that while they are approving that much, that House members, especially the principal officers and the presiding members, are most likely going to approve some for themselves. And people thought I was being speculative. That is how it works in politics. If I must approve this for you, what is there for me? So in other words, let us assume that all the speakers, the deputy speakers in the 36 House of Assemblies, since this democracy, are entitled to some kind of terminal benefit or severance benefit. Do the arithmetic of how much mileage that is taking place on the public treasury, on speakers that you probably do not even know their name, you may not even recognize their faces. The taxpayers' money is being used to sustain them. In other words, go beyond the governors. Look at the speakers. Look at other political office holders. We got it all wrong. When the members of National Assembly awarded themselves 4 months' salary as severance benefit, that is, if you are going to go out of the National Assembly, indeed at the end of every session, as it were, they are entitled to 4 years salary in advance, as if you were still in office. Multiply that by the number of members that are in the National Assembly, that i.e., the House of Representatives and the Senate. That takes me to what while you people were doing your program in Port Harcourt on the governor's retreat, there was a question you put to the governor of Rivers State. Why would somebody be entitled to 2 pensions? That is to say, you are already having a terminal benefit or at least a severance benefit as governor. If for any reason you get to the Senate, and quite a number of governors end up in the Senate, what will you do to the pension that is also accruable as a member of House of, as member of, as other House of Representative or Senate? Okay. And he said the person will choose one. I think the governor should do better than that. You will choose one. A David Mark that is on pension, a military pension already, will now tell the National Assembly Service Commission, say, don't prepare any terminal benefits for me because I'm already here. And we're not even talking about the governors alone. Half of the people who are in the Senate have retired from one place or the other.
You don't think that's how it works?
It doesn't work that way. It just cannot work that way. The people just collect their pensions as entitlement. We go back to the pension. Before the expose made by the governor of Akwa Ibom State, these governors, ex-governors, were collecting this as entitlement. That is to say, at the beginning of the year, they collected it because it's their medical bill. They're entitled to it by law. Where were we when these laws were being passed? You are talking about the lawyers going to court. Where are the NGOs? You see, they collect it, and whatever they do with it is they're just entitled to it by law. Look at that of Lagos State. a Lagos State ex-governor is entitled to 6 cars. Chamberlain, I'm talking about 6 cars. The man is not running a car shop. And the life of those cars, it will come to, the book value of those cars will come to 0 after 3 years. A car, for instance, that you bought, that was made and probably bought at 2011, is already old by the definition of that law by now. So in other words, 6 cars will be driven back to the man's house. And if probably those other ones that he had hardly even changed their oil are still there, brand new, he probably will monetize it. Why are politicians doing this to Nigerians? So, and I'm talking about, I started with speakers and I got to governors and I've gotten to National Assembly. Do the arithmetic and find out how much it is weighing down on the treasury of this country.
No,